Good evening, ladies and gents. Welcome to Scotty Z TV. Now, I want you guys to play along with me here for a moment. Can everyone do this with me, please? Put your hands up in the air. 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 Come on, I can't hear you. Put your hands up in the air. 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 Ladies and gents, I'm so excited to be here with you. It's so good. For the last 20 minutes, Linda, my very special guest this evening, and I have been going back and forth with the technology. She is still trying to log in to be here with us tonight, which is just totally fascinating and awesome at the same time. I don't know about you guys, but can you tell me in the chat room here, who else has been suffering from technology dramas today? Because my phone is just freaking out on me. My computer is completely freaking out on me. Communication, I can't log into my cellular stuff. It's my 3G's not working. And I don't know what else it is. But you know what's going on astrologically right now? Maybe you're feeling this as well. Put your hands up in the air if you're feeling like me. And technology is going crazy because we're in a Mercury retrograde. What the hell does that mean? That's a really good question. Mercury retrograde. I don't know exactly, to be honest, what is happening with Mercury, but my understanding is it's moving backwards in the astrological chart. So if somebody knows more than me, tell me right now. That'd be awesome. But that Mercury retrograde usually means that there is going to be problems in communication, problems with technology, and yeah, just time to be patient, I guess. I have lots of lessons to learn with that. Sorry, I'm just reading, still loading, getting there. It looks like I'm in. Hopefully Linda has joined us. I can't see her yet, but when she gets in, we will invite Linda into a conversation. So yeah, it's been a fascinating. Yeah, Sheila saying yes. I guess you're getting the Mercury retrograde enjoyment as well. All right, cool. Linda is coming in now, which is great. Yeah, literally 20 minutes we've been working on getting into this technology. And my phone, man, like I hope that I'm not too blurry. Maybe I shouldn't move too much because usually I'll do this from my phone because in Australia, our phone 3G is like 1,000 times better than our Wi-Fi, like the broadband connection. It's incredible that our phone can be more powerful than our actual under the ground cables or wherever they run the cables. So I usually run it from my phone. As I'm saying, I can't even do that tonight because for some reason it's got this little exclamation mark saying no. Computer says no. So I don't know exactly why that's doing that, but Mercury retrograde. Hey, did you guys hear that on Monday, so I think the solstice just happened, so my understanding is, the equinox, no, the equinox, yeah. Hang on, is it equinox or solstice when we're moving into spring? Yeah, so it's equinox now, right? And now we're moving into spring. Just happened a few days ago. And this weekend we have an eclipse, a full lunar eclipse. I haven't read this. I was just having a conversation today. Someone was telling me. And then on Monday, I was reading a post that a friend posted on Facebook that there is supposedly a very big cosmic happening in the universe, and it's going to be affecting us, where there will be a massive shift in consciousness happening on Monday. I don't know what you believe about that, but I certainly believe that we are affected astrologically. I was just talking about Mercury retrograde. I know astrology that affects me and what's going on in the different houses and stuff like that. Linda, you poor bugger, she's still having problems logging in. Oh, well, such is life. I learned this one in India. Such is life. Such is life. Oh, it's okay. No problem. Everything will be okay. I love those guys that do that. But yeah, so on Monday is supposed to be this big like cosmic awakening, which is pretty exciting. Don't know exactly what's going to happen, but whatever happens, it's going to be freaking awesome. Because we are moving into this beautiful conscious evolution that we all know and feel. It's happening around the world. I've traveled around the world. There's communities just like this around the world opening their hearts, growing more consciously. And that's the exciting part, and that's what I was talking about a lot as well. You probably just saw my Facebook group change its name to Tribes United. That is exactly what I'll be working on. This poor bugger Linda, she's so stuck. Keep trying. And I apologize to you guys that this technology has not worked out perfectly. I really appreciate your patience. That's just the way technology is sometimes, especially in Mercury retrograde. So it's all good. I'll make sure that you guys have a fun time with me here tonight, regardless. But hopefully Linda can get in because she's very awesome. I just wrote reloud rather than reload. But yeah, that's this idea. Tribes United is something that I'm working on at the moment. This is not just about, you know, the industry that we're in right now is around the personal development industry, and everyone becomes their own expert or guru or leader, and now I'm the expert and I'm going to teach you what I know. And that's great. We all have so many things to teach. And I guess you've come on here tonight as well. And again, thank you so much for coming because maybe there's something that you want to connect with me in some way. And I see Marika's on there tonight, which is awesome. And Marika and I got to sit down today for an hour at my home. She came here, which was awesome. And we got to spend some time talking and focusing on some big things that she wants to bring into her life at the moment, which is really exciting. But one thing I was talking to Marika about was this idea that I'm not presenting myself so much as an expert or someone that you know, knows more than anybody else. And there's going to be things that I know, and there's going to be things that you know. But all I'm saying is that for the last 14 years, I've been walking a very conscious journey. And I know Sheila on there and even Marika have probably been doing it longer than me as well, which is awesome. There's so much we can learn from each other. And then, in fact, I just represent myself as a guide. For years, I was an adventure guide. And I would take people rafting or scuba diving or hiking or mountain biking or whatever it was, camping, which was great. And the idea was that I had been there before and I was walking the path with them. I was walking the journey with them. And I guess that's what I'm saying here as well is, you know, I'm not an expert. I'm not someone special. I'm just a guy just like you or a girl, but I'm not a girl, but you are perhaps. But I'm somebody that is very passionate about wanting to live the best way that I possibly can. And I know 14 years ago when I made that decision to be happy, I said I'm going to be happy. And everything I've done since then is about that being happy. I know that the journey of happiness is a spiritual journey. And 14 years ago, I didn't know that. I was just, you know, beer drinking, whatever, fighting and doing my thing. But I've come to understand that we are on a spiritual adventure. And as we journey this adventure, it really is about us being our authentic selves in that space of love. In that love, the adventure. Love is the adventure. We are here to love and be love in every moment of every day. And that's all I'm saying is I'm a guide. I'm walking with you. Get out of it. I see Linda's face right here. Linda, are you there? Can you hear me? Put your hands up in the air. 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 Linda Chaousis, can you hear me? She got a microphone symbol. Linda. Oh, I hear sound. Can you hear me?
I can. Oh, now I can, Scotty. Yep.
Yes. Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, can we give some...
beat Mercury.
Oh, Mercury. Go Mercury. Can we give some massive love to this lady, my very special guest for this evening, Linda, am I saying your last name correctly? Chaousis.
Yep, you are. Yep, very much.
Yes. All right. So thank you so much for coming on. And look, you're only 9 minutes late, so it's cool. It's cool. It's totally cool. How am I doing this? I'm working this. There we go. But thank you so much for coming. It's such a pleasure for you to be here. We've got some guests that are tuned in live, which is awesome. Some other people are going to be viewing this recording, which is great as well. So guys, let's get into the content, because I've taken 10 minutes of your time talking story, and I want to introduce you to Linda so she can chat. So Linda is the author of this amazing book, Beyond Positive Thoughts. You can live your life by design, not default. And I loved this when I connected with you, Linda, a few weeks ago on Facebook, and then you so kindly sent me your book, which is awesome. I haven't finished reading the whole thing. Oh, there's your picture on the back as well. But certainly going through and pulling out the nuggets from this, it's been so fascinating, so amazing. I have I had a write-up that I was going to read about what you do exactly, but let's allow you to explain that a bit more. Your journey from corporate into being able to guide people into being able to create their life by design. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the journey that you are on, please?
Yeah, sure, Scotty. Now, can you guys hear me?
They definitely will be able to. If I can hear you, they can hear you for sure.
Right. Yeah. Now, my computer sometimes it freezes, so I'll let you know if it freezes. Well, you know, as I said, I've been a management consultant for a number of years. I've written management books, but throughout my whole life, I have actually, I guess, attracted all these opportunities through using the law of attraction. And so I'm very much an evidence-based person, but I also am a spiritual person. So it's kind of those two, which often don't really seem, you know, they seem kind of mutually exclusive. So I had a passion for management consulting from the time I was in high school. So I did that for a while. And then a couple of years ago, I realized that organizations were kind of getting more dysfunctional. And I thought, you know what? So many people are suffering in organizations. Why don't I actually start teaching people around the law of attraction, the energetic field, live your life by design? And that's really what became more of a passion of mine. And I think, Scotty, that's kind of the stuff that you talk about. It's like, what is it that really fills you up, and what is it that you have a passion for? So as I did that, and you know, there may be some other people out there who want to transition from something that's really one thing and then to something that's really different. But when you're really in your zone, things just open up. So, and I have attracted, you know, as I say in the book, you know, I've manifested a range of opportunities and, you know, money and books and all that stuff. So it's, and I guess, can I just say that the living your life by default versus design is, I really believe that we are living in a whole field of energy, and our thoughts and our emotions go out there at a certain frequency. So the frequency they go out at, they're matched. And so if we aren't paying attention to our thoughts, everything that we have in our life, we've just gotten it by default because it's what it's you know, focus most on. So it's exciting, and it's been, you know, as each year goes by, I get more and more attraction to it, because I still teach at a graduate school, so I still teach leadership and all that stuff, but I bring that into my work. So yeah, really exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. And this law of attraction that you're talking about, I am so on board with law of attraction, to the point, quick story for you. In 2007, I was living in California, and The Secret had just come out, yeah?
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, The Secret had just come out, and I was actually hanging out at the Agape Church, which is where Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, the African-American guy with the dreads, in The Secret, was teaching. And I totally like fluked this law of attraction. I met this woman in a Staples store. I was printing stuff for my TV show, and we connected, loved each other. She's like, you got to come and meet Michael. So she takes me into the front row of Agape that weekend and like meets Michael. I sit down in the VIP. I then become like part of this community. Totally law of attraction style. And at the same time, I'm like watching The Secret. I had this vision board and $1 million check, and I was like printing DVDs and giving it out to everyone. I was so into it. And it's still a big part of my life. Like, I can tell you stories on stories on stories of how this works and just how we can create. And the only way that we create, it's either by default we're creating or by design, like you're saying, through the power of our thoughts, through the power of our feelings and emotions, that allows us to create what we want in our life. So big supporter, totally on board with what you're saying.
I think that's so cool. And you know, Scotty, from the time I was in primary school, I was obsessed with California. So as soon as I graduated from uni, I went to California because I grew up in Boston. So I love California.
Me too. I can't wait to move back to San Diego. One day I'm going to live in San Diego. I'm going to make a big adventure reality series around the world, connecting people back with nature. Yeah, how's that for law of attraction?
Oh, that is so cool, because San Diego is such a great place. That's probably the place I would go back to if I were ever to go back there. So yeah, that's great. Cool stuff.
So can you tell us a bit, like, why did you write this book? I mean, I want to read through some of the chapters and the things that you're talking about, and they're all totally on the same level. My beliefs, my philosophy, what I'm teaching people as well.
Yes.
Why the book? Why did you feel that you needed to write this book?
Well, there are a couple of reasons, Scotty. One is that I've written a lot of management books for publishers like Prentice Hall, McGraw-Hill, and I wanted to kind of transition from that. And I thought writing the book would give me, it was a chance to just kind of put down on paper or in a book, you know, the beliefs and the whole law of attraction stuff, because as you probably know, there's more to it than just the law of attraction. And so, you know, there's all those things about creating space, about, you know, your thoughts, beliefs and emotions, visualizing, inspired action, forgiveness, you know, all those things. So I thought, well, if I wrote a book that had those things, then if I went out and started talking to people about it, the book is there. And I must say, a lot of, when I wrote the book, I did what Wayne Dyer always said he did. I wrote the book, and every time I sat down to write it, or I dictated it, I would say, okay, give me a sign of the words that will really help encourage other people. So just, you know, flow through me. And it's been amazing because the people who have read it, a number of people said, you know, Linda, it's really given me confidence. It's really given me an opportunity to really start to believe more about what I can believe in. And, you know, in the book, I talk about the discouraging times as well. Because I say to people, you know, let's get real. You know, it's not a success-only journey, as Dr. Phil says, you know. So, you know, I talk about some of those discouraging times and how I dealt with them. So I say to people, look, it will be a road that, you know, 2 steps forward, maybe 1 step backward, and then maybe 3 steps forward. But so it was really to kind of put the message out there and have it be a way of sharing with people, even if I didn't know them face to face.
Beautiful. And look, I want to read some of these chapters. I love what you've been writing about here again. You mentioned some of them then, and I just want to like go through some of the things. It's a lot of power. You're talking a lot about power. So the power of doing what lights you up, the first chapter. How beautiful is that? The power of doing what lights you up. The power of visualization, we spoke about. The power of how you think and feel. I guess in here you talk more about your guidance system. Is that right?
Yeah, and the fact that your thoughts, energy follows your thoughts. So, you know, and there are measurements of frequencies. I can't remember what the unit of measurement is, but they've measured your thoughts and your emotions. And the higher the frequency, the more you're going to attract things. So you've got to have those positive emotions to attract what you want to desire. But I say to people, look, it's not to gloss over things. If you're seriously depressed or if you're going through a trauma, you know, seek professional help. It's not just going, okay, I'll just ignore it.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't just positive. Well, that's why it's called beyond positive thoughts, right? Positive in every situation. But I see it as like, you know, when you get sick, you take medicine, but to avoid getting sick, you focus on looking after yourself physically. Looking after your mind is learned optimism, positive emotions, gratitude, which is your next chapter there. These things that fill us up to make us mentally healthy, and then you can avoid more easily. Sometimes you're going to get sick still, and then you need to go and have those conversations. But there's things that we can do to buffer.
Yeah, I think that's true, Scotty. And I'm really big on the mind-body stuff anyway. You know, I've watched movies like The Living Matrix, you know, really follow the food matters people, Forks Over Knives. And, you know, there is a lot, you know, in the book I talk about how I had a really inflamed knee and the doctor said, oh, you need an arthroscopy. And in my head, I said, there'll be no arthroscopy. And he said, oh, go have an x-ray. When I was x-rayed, the lady goes, oh, love, do you have an orthopedic surgeon? You're going to need one. And I just sat at the table and said to myself, there'll be no orthopedic surgeon. So then what I did when I got home, you know, for the next week, every step I took, I say, with every step, my knee gets stronger. With every step, it heals. Now, it was painful at first. And I always say to people, look, I'm not suggesting that you stay away from your doctor. You know, do what your doctor says. But for me, there is a lot about how the body, Dr. Joe Dispenza wrote, you know, you are the placebo. There's a lot about our body can heal itself. But I do think, I just do the disclaimer to people, look, if you are dealing with an illness or something, don't just leave your doctor, but see what you can do to maybe enhance your healing with what the doctor's giving you to do.
Yeah, beautiful. I really like that. Yeah, you got some great things here. You know, putting yourself first, creating space, inspired action, discouragement. The power of discouragement. I had to read it. I want to read it as like, Can you tell us a little bit about what you're talking about, the power of discouragement?
Yes. It's like, why is discouragement powerful?
Do they go together really?
Yeah, it's like, Linda, did you have a mental lapse during that chapter?
It's like positive, positive, yeah, positive, positive, positive. Discouragement? Like, what the hell is this?
Discouraged. Yeah. Well, what I find is when you are discouraged, if you're in a situation you don't like, then that can give you clarity on what you do want. And so I've got a template where, sometimes I take people through, okay, so tell me what you don't like, and maybe describe just one situation. What don't you like about it? And list all those things. And then picture what you'd really like to have happen. And what I often say to people, and I'm sure you believe this too, Scotty, is that what you can attract in your life is not just what's in your frame of reference. So, it can be outside of anything that seems possible at the moment. And so I say, really believe, okay, you don't like this, what would you like to see happen? And then as you shift, you're also shifting internally, energetically, because you're starting to get a little bit more positive thinking about it, even if you don't think it's possible. And then you can start to take that inspired action. So, a few people have said, if you were always on a high, then you'd burn out. And so sometimes getting that discouragement can just give you a bit more clarity and then help you to know, where to go next. But it's just not living there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's so beautiful. Two things I want to comment on what you just said was the first one was about creating outside of your frame of reference. And I think it's really important for us to be focusing on things outside of our frame of reference, because that's where the growth is.
Exactly.
Like I spoke about that at the Real Food Revolution. I think, you missed me on Saturday.
On Saturday, I know. Yeah.
That's fine. It was great to connect, but on Sunday it was great to connect. But yeah, I was talking about like that learning zone around the comfort zone, and us visualizing and wanting to create things outside of what we already have. That leads us. That allows us to grow more into who we are. So absolutely.
Yeah. And Scotty, that's a really important point, because Gay Hendricks wrote The Big Leap, and he talks about the upper limit problem. And sometimes we might be visualizing things and we might actually find them coming to us, but internally, if we aren't aligned to it yet, then we can start, our body will start to either have us get a cold or get a headache, or we'll lose our money or whatever, because we've got to be aligned with it. So I think that's a really good point, saying we need to go into that comfort zone and actually live, feel like that's possible. Which is why I say to people, if you, repeat the affirmations with gratitude and emotion and keep doing it, it's like a tipping point where suddenly you think, that might be possible. I don't really see how it's possible, but kind of believe it, because I kept saying it over and over again,
Yes, exactly. You start to train your mind to believe, to know what it is that you want to create well before it's going to be created. And then that, like you're saying, that gratitude and that emotion, that creates in your physiology and your neurology the pathways in order to live it out.
Exactly. And then what you're doing is you're putting it out there on that frequency, which is then going to attract it. They say, the Esther Hicks and Abraham and all those people, they say that if you have 17 seconds of a thought that's just on that thing, you actually are starting to attract it to you. So yeah. And I mean, I've so many examples in the books of things that I've attracted into my life. When people say to me, so what are you going to do, when you leave the consulting firm? And I listed about 5 or 6 things, and they go, well, you can't possibly do all those things. And I inside of saying, just watch me. And sure enough, one by one, they all came up, and they were things that would have appeared to be very impossible.
Mm-hmm. But very possible in your mind, which is why you're able to create it.
Yeah. And Scotty, I also say to people, that's part of what living on purpose and doing what lights you up, because you can manifest like a house by the beach or a Mercedes-Benz or something. But if you're doing that for your identity, then it's going to be an empty thing. But if you just love cars and you want to do that, then and you're cruising around with something, and you're enjoying being with people and all that stuff, and you're sharing it, then that's a different scenario.
Absolutely. Well, last night I was on a coaching call with a client in Holland, of all places.
Wow.
And yeah, my only European client, and I love her. She's great. But we were talking about this, and I did a little puppet show, which I guess I'll do for you now too, because it's fun. I was talking, just like you're talking about now, like we can manifest anything we want in our lives, and there's plenty of evidence that you can manifest wealth and riches and the home on the beach.
Yeah.
Actually, I manifested a home on the beach that I'm living in right now 5 months ago, moving back to Australia after coming from the cold of Toronto, Canada. I was like, I need nature, I want a home on the beach in Palm Beach, and here is the home that I live in. So it's a little bit of thing. But what I was talking about with my client last night, and that I'd like to share, is exactly what you're talking about. We can create from the ego self. The little ego self says, "Oh, I want to have a big house because that's going to make me happy." Right? Everything we do from ego is about security and wanting to fulfill needs. But then we can physically create these things from the ego, but it won't bring happiness guaranteed. Yeah. The only way to guarantee that you're going to be happy is in your creations is to come from source, to come from your higher self, great spirit, and be inspired by that big channel, that big conduit, be inspired by spirit of what it is that you want to create. And when you create those things, be it a house on the beach, because it's part of your divine self, it's wanting to manifest through you, the happiness is guaranteed. If it's an ego-driven thing, no happiness. Maybe you luck out here and there, you got a little conduit of energy, maybe brings enough happiness to keep you going. But then that's the problem with people make money, all these things. Oh, look how good I am, ego-based. Or there's other people, make money. Look at the difference that I'm making with it. Look at how I can help people with it. Look how I'm on point I am with who I am, manifesting what it is that God wants to bring through me. That's where the true happiness lies. The little one and the big one.
Yeah. You know, that is such a good, I think that's such a good example, because I remember reading in A Course in Miracles. I've only read a few sections of it, but you know, they talk about the ego, and you know, Wayne Dyer would often say that when you're listening to your ego and you're following your ego, you're cutting off that connection to source, and so you're actually cutting off that ability to really connect to source and, you know, and follow your divine inspiration. And like, as you said, yeah, you can have the Mercedes and the house on the beach, but if you're following your divine leading, your just the energy you give off is different, because it's not like your identity is not tied up to it at all. You're just enjoying it, because our birthright is abundance, and our birthright is the stuff that we love to do. And so I think, you know, I think it is important to make that distinction. I love that's a puppet show is good. That's a good one. You should. Are you going to do a video on that? You should do a video on that.
I'll do a video on that just for you. I'll tag you in it when I make it. Thank you. I'll write that down on my list. I'll do that. Yeah, for sure. I'll make a video. But it's fun because it's on Skype that I'm doing my session. Obviously, I don't fly to Amsterdam every week for a session. So it's like the little puppet show thing. Really, it's like visual. You can relate to it. But I love this, what you're talking about, this the power of discouragement. Like how there's an old saying, an old mentor of mine, Roger Hamilton, used to say, and it is that you are defined by what you say no to, meaning the definition of your edges, your definition is created by you saying no to the other things, and that leaves you in the middle. Which I really loved. And what you're talking about, that is the power of discouragement, is about, okay, these are the things that I don't like. These are not working for me. I can now learn from that and say no. And that no-ness allows me to be me, which I really love what you're talking about there.
You know, that is so true, because I think you're right, because sometimes the discouragement can come from people who are trying to keep you down. And so if you just set the boundaries and say, no, I'm going to move forward. Yeah, I think that's a really good, and I think his phrase about you are defined by, you know, what you say no to, that's a really powerful phrase, because I think a lot of people find it hard to say no.
Yeah, we're sort of taught that no is like this bad, selfish thing, but it's actually the most powerful thing that we can say, because when we say no, we say yes to ourselves. And that's really important to understand. We have that power and to execute that power, because if people are always trying to take from us, and always, because they know what's right, of course, they know what's right for me, so they think, and then I say no, I'm actually turning that back on myself and saying yes. Yes. Me, because I'm going to be in my place of inspiration, my place of divine guidance, and you pushing up on me with your expectations of what you want, that's great, thanks for the advice, but no this time, yes to me, let's express who I really am.
Yeah, and you know, Scotty, when I've done some workshops around resilience, I've said to people, when you do set boundaries, sometimes people will be offended because suddenly you're no longer playing the role in their lives that they want you to play. And if you start to really start to take off, they'll be threatened because like, oh well, so that's possible. Well, I'd rather just stay where I am. So I want to bring you back to where I am. So it can take some courage, and it can take some real strength of character. And see, I go back to that. The more you understand what it is that your divine purpose is, then you're much clearer. And I think when you say no to people, you say it in a different way than an ego way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like you're not trying to put them down. You just say, no, thanks. That's
you're saying yes to you. You're saying yes to that inspiration, to that divine guidance.
Mm.
Tell us about this living in purpose. Okay, how do I live my purpose, Linda? Take me on a journey.
I think that's probably the biggest thing for people to start. And desire is often a first good clue. What is it that you really desire to do? What is it you love to do? And you might be working in a bank and you might love music. So it's like, well, I can't go out and just do pub shows. Well, okay, that's fine. You can't immediately go and do that. But if you love music or whatever you love, then really try to get some of that in your life, even if it's taking a guitar lesson or joining a meetup group around music. So I think that's the first part, Scotty, is to just be in touch with your desire, because that emotional scale, that you want to get up to those higher emotions, because that's where you're going to start to attract what you want. And then so then I say to people, what is it that lights you up? And what is it that when you do it, you just get lost in, and time just flies by? And what is it that Gay Hendricks talks about the zone of genius versus the zone of competence, and those kinds of things. And I think that if you really pay attention to what really fulfills you, I think if you reflect on it long enough, and I think some people have been so busy with families and everything that they just kind of lost themselves. But if you really think about it, it will come to you. And then I think the next step, which often is where people stop, is they go, well, that's impossible. Or, no, you know what? I'm really not supposed to trust my emotions. So that's just ridiculous. And then there might be other people who say, well, how are you ever going to do that? And then if you're not surrounded by other people, because if we are surrounded by people who are energetically aligned with the law of attraction where we're headed, then we catch each other's energy, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it's really important to do that. But I'd say the first thing is desire. What is it that you love to do, and what is it that lights you up?
Yeah. And I love that you're talking about taking those small steps.
Yeah.
Like, I think you get overwhelmed, like you're saying, I want to be a professional rock star. Well, go and have a guitar lesson. Go and, hang out in the pub and listen to the music.
Yeah.
Go and do all the live gigs.
Yeah.
Taking those small steps towards that desire enables us to move in that direction.
And Scotty, I often talk about what I call the let's get real factor. And whenever I speak to people about it, they go, oh, Linda, it's such a relief to hear you say that, because sometimes you'll hear these people say, well, just follow and do what you love. And I think, yeah, but you got a mortgage, you got kids' school fees. So, that you may not be able to take off and go to Hawaii, but what can you do to take those little steps? And what will happen is, energetically, as you keep doing that, and as you have a passion for it, as it just keeps opening up that interest, you will find time. And then energetically, you will draw people to you who will say, oh, did you know you can go to this, or, you can do that, or have you ever thought about joining that group? So, and that's how I always say, leave the how to the universe, just head in the direction.
Oh, absolutely. And it's incredible what shows up. Absolutely incredible. Once you start moving in that direction and taking decisive action, it's like the universe is like, whoa, 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 here he comes, quick, make way.
Well, it's funny because my youngest daughter and I really, even before we watched The Secret, we really kind of, had this, sort of line of thinking. And sometimes we'd have things come so quickly, we'd go, it's almost like having too much candy. We've just got to, it's like, whoa, this is all opening up too fast. But I think it's true. And I think often the way the universe provides is it's ways that you never, ever, ever could have orchestrated. You think, oh my word, I never could have put that together.
And that's the thing. We get into this finite mind that we have, and it's like, I'm going to solve the workings of the universe. I'm going to work out every step that needs to be taken to get to this dream.
Yeah.
Wow. It's like, get over yourself.
And I've got it in my diary. Yeah,
I'll use this thing. So another mentor of mine, Karen, she talks about it like this. So she says, okay, so if this is the universe, this whole thing, it's one of my juggling balls, but if this is the universe, I can see and understand maybe about that much of the whole universal understanding through my ego, right? And that's being generous because it's a small ball and I need to show a bit. But then the whole rest of it is infinite possibilities.
Yes.
And this place is where I want to live. If I get stuck in the I'm going to be in charge, I get to play with that much. But if I let go and let God, as Wayne Dyer says, then those infinite possibilities allow the juggling magic to happen.
And you know, Scotty, I think that's a great phrase to say, it's infinite possibilities, because the other thing that a lot of people say is the universe is always expanding. So, you know, and when I talk about the gratitude stuff, I say, you know, if you just give it a go, because if you start being grateful for whatever's around you, you will expand that, and you'll find more things will come into your life to be grateful for. And then suddenly it'll be like, oh, wow, okay. Yeah, and positive psychology has done research around with brain scans saying people who look at what's working, they do more of those regions of the brain light up the more they do that. And it doesn't mean that you dismiss, you know, like I often say to groups, if your house is on fire, you don't go, oh, that's okay, it's warm. You know, it's like, no, that's but you're grateful for the fact that the firemen are there or the neighbors are helping you. But yeah, you've got a problem there.
Yeah, you've got to act on that. But for sure, gratitude I call the special sauce.
Yeah.
You make this magic in your life, but the gratitude is the special sauce. That's the thing that's going to like bring it all together.
Yeah, I think that's true. And that's often the foundation. You know, I think gratitude is the foundation. And so I think it's really, it's the thing that, you know, if there's any place where people were to start, it would be with gratitude, I think.
Yeah, totally. And look, I've got a little gratitude, my little journal, a little gratitude journal that I just do every day. And I just try and write one page of things that I'm grateful for. But the biggest magic that I found in gratitude is being grateful for things that haven't manifested yet. Years ago, I started, and this may sound crazy, but I try and tell everyone about this if I can. Years ago, I started when I was coming to the red light and the light would go green and let me drive through, I would say, thank you. I'd say, thank you. And then people are like, oh, you're saying thank you for the green light. I'm like, no, I'm saying thank you for the next green light. That green light I already thanked at the last one.
Yeah.
Always grateful for those things, not the things that are right here, right now, which is part of the gratitude journal, and like getting great. Oh, I'm so grateful for this, so grateful for that. But being grateful for the things that are coming. That green light is coming. I know when I get to that next red, it's going to change. I'm going to move through it, and I'm being grateful into the future.
Yeah.
And that's the whole law of attraction thing, right? Like bringing it in. And this was even before I started doing Esther Hicks or law of attraction. It's just something I liked. So I was like, yeah, green, because I noticed the synchronicities, right? Like, oh, black cat, your parking spot. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so just getting grateful for those things in the future and knowing they're coming. Like the universe is working for us, helping us.
Yeah, it has our back. But you know, Scotty, I think that's a really important point, though. When you are trying to manifest something, if you add the gratitude to it, you're actually putting more power behind it. You know, and yeah, it hasn't come yet. But the more you're grateful for it, then the more you're picturing it happening, and then that gratitude again, that's a more of a positive emotion. So that's putting you up higher up the scale. So I think that's a really, really important point.
And it's so fascinating. Like when we get down onto a quantum field or like the spiritual plane, which we're all moving to understand this more and more. Like I'm just a normal dude, but you know, I understand that we're all spiritual beings in a quantum plane or whatever. There is no past. There is no future. There is only now. There is everything is in this plane of now. It's just this time-space continuum that we get to play in.
Yeah.
As manifesting human beings that just has that little, what we would call a gap between what I want and what I actually have, or the other way around, like how do I get there, right? But it's the molding of the clay. The enjoyment of the process is why we came into human form. But we get attached to this, I'm not something yet, or I don't have something yet. Bullshit. energetically, spiritually, being a vibrational energy, everything is already manifest. It's just a matter of, well, it's already manifest in the spiritual realm. It's just us appreciating and enjoying it. And when we get into that mindset, think about it, whether it's real or not, in that mindset, you are bringing it into your experience faster than if you had the mindset of lack. So if I'm right or wrong, who cares? But it's still going to make it easier for you to create what you want to create.
Well, I think that's true because, what they say that if you're thinking about lack and what's not there or worried about not there, then it's almost like the universe is going, oh, okay, I took your order, but no, okay, you've changed your order. So it really, when you think about that time of lack, even though you're picturing what you want, then you're actually giving out conflicting messages and energy to the universe. So you're actually lowering yourself down the scale. So you're absolutely right. It's really thinking about, really just continuing to think about those infinite possibilities. And I think that's a great term. There are infinite possibilities out there. And, like, Esther Hicks, when she channels Abraham, she'll often say that, once you put the request out there, okay, the universe has said yes. So it's there. And I say to people, it's almost like when you're unlocking a padlock, you've got to get the right combination. And so I think for us, the combination, it's out there, but we just, it's the padlock, it's in this glass case. We just got to unlock the padlock. And I think the combination is exactly what you've said. Express gratitude, really visualize it, because you'll forge those neural pathways where you start to believe it a little bit more than when you first did it. And then, and then suddenly, other things will come, and it may not be, the lock may not fully unlock immediately, but there'll be other people that come and they'll give you opportunities and they'll give you that, and suddenly you'll fully get what it is that you're trying to manifest. And as you said, it comes at the right time. So there might be a few lessons on the way so that when you get it, you'll really be fully ready to receive it.
Oh man, that whole divine timing thing too. What a pain in the ass that is. Why do I want to wait? Why do I want to wait? But everything, that's the thing. I call it destiny and fate collide. Like destiny is me moving towards it, like, come on, universe, and fate is like universe coming towards me, like, okay, here we come, bam. And then when we get in the middle, it's like divine timing. Okay, cool. Like the definition of luck that I love the most is when preparation meets opportunity. Ooh, luck. Yeah. Luck. But I tell you, this is powerful. It's powerful. It's really powerful stuff, and it's teaching us a lot about being accepting, a lot about being very patient. This thing about allowing, like, I'm going to allow myself to work hard towards what I want, and I'm going to allow the universe to bring the fruits of that labor towards me. But I'm going to do it in a space that the universe understands, and that space is love and gratitude. So as I show up,
and the thing, and Scotty, it sometimes you do have to work hard, but it should feel a bit like ease, like, and it's sort of a contradiction, because you may have to work hard, but it won't feel like a slog. It will be something that, I'm working late hours over this, but I can't wait to see this come about, as opposed to, I'm just about burnt out on this. And I think it's, and that's part of your emotional feedback about, am I on the right path?
Yeah, absolutely. I just noticed your vision board in the back there. I've been looking into your eyes all the time. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Walking the talk.
Yeah, and I've got another. Yeah, well, I've got another vision board on my window as well. But yeah, well, Scotty, I think probably one of the big things that I had on my vision board was when I left the consulting company that I worked for and I formed my own company. I spent, most of my money on branding and all that stuff. So I might have had like $500 in my bank account. But I had gone to Qatar to work in the oil and gas industry when I was with a consulting company, and I fell in love with the place. So I wanted to go back there, but I wanted to go back there to work for a certain university. In there some
your book, actually.
Yeah, and so none of those, so really, if you were to talk about absolutely nothing, it's almost like, Linda, you belong in a mental institution, because I only have a bachelor's degree. I only have a bachelor's degree. The university here, the local one, was a top-ranked quantitative grad school, and I'm not really quantitative, and so that would be the only way I could probably get over there. And I really wanted to fly international business class, blah 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 blah. So my daughter worked at Chibo's at the airport, and so I'd go into the airport, pick her up, and I would just picture, I can't wait to go into the Qantas lounge to wait for my international business class flight to go over to Doha, and I would just keep feeling that excitement. Now, in the early days, it just seemed like, Linda, you are crazy. Just go work at McDonald's, you know. But then it was like, you know, so you have those moments. But I just kept doing it. And then I'd sit at the coffee shop, Hudson's Coffee, because I couldn't afford the Qantas Lounge. So I'd sit there at Hudson's, picturing what it was like to be in the Qantas Lounge and having them call my flight. And 2 years later, I'm on international business class, going over there in Doha, in the most amazing apartment. And I had the offer to do it as many years as I wanted to. So it was one of those things. And yeah, I got the job. I got an adjunct teaching job at the grad school. And again, when you do what you love and when you do what you're born to do, I got really good feedback because I taught the management courses, got great feedback. And so I knew I was right where I belonged, you know. And so I think that's, again, it's that right when you're where you belong and when it's your divine purpose. Because part of my desire was to help and encourage young people. Because I'm a real advocate for giving young people a voice. And
yeah.
So, and because I love research, I thought, but I like to turn research into everyday stuff. So It was like, oh, it'd be great to work there. And, you know, so, and that's just only one of a few of the examples. And it sounds like you've got the same, you know, it's like, you know, and I mean, Queensland, you know, because I love the warm weather, even though I grew up in Boston, you know, I've got, you know, places visualized in Queensland where I want to go. I want to be, well, actually that picture up there, maybe you can't see it. There's a picture up there of a balcony in Trinity Beach where I was doing writing. That's one of them. And then my youngest daughter lives in the Gold Coast, and I'd gone to Surfers Paradise, stayed at QT for a conference, and Surfers was okay, but she lives at Southport. And when we went there in May, it was like, yeah, you know, kind of think Gold Coast might even be better than Far North Queensland because it's got to get more action to it, you know.
I'm from Queensland. I'm from Cairns originally, and yeah, Gold Coast is. Yeah, I know Trinity Beach. I grew up in Freshwater, around the corner. Now I live in Palm Beach, Gold Coast.
Yeah. So you live on. Yeah. So I must say, Scotty, it's that kind of thing. And so you know, this is why I'm planning on being location independent, because then I can go and, you know, I mean, when I wrote the book, I went up to Trinity Beach for a week last year, and I'll probably go. You know, I said to Steph, the youngest daughter, I said, look, Steph, I'll probably come over to Gold Coast. I'll probably spend like a week doing writing. I can do my podcast from the apartment, you know. So, but I'm picturing it, and people go, well, how is that going to ever happen? And I said, well, you know, you just put it out there, and when the timing is right, it will come.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. That's beautiful. Yeah. And what is the work that you're doing day by day? Like, what is your business, and how can people get involved with you and learn more with you? I mean, you have, from your book and then from this conversation, there's so much wisdom that you have to share with people, and you walk and you talk, you live in it. So what is it that you do? How can people benefit from working with you? Or in what way?
There's a few. I've got this program called Find Your Path, which is really a way of helping, and many times it's people in workplaces who are just a bit burnt out or sick of their job, and so I take them through, okay, what's your ideal life? What do you like about your job? Because also what I'm trying to do is do it incrementally. Okay, so you're in your job, you might need to still stay there, but what is it you love about your job? And then how can you branch out to what you love to do? So there's the Find Your Path. And then I'm developing a course around the book. I do have an e-course called From Dream to Reality, Attract the Life That You Desire. And I'm going to put that up as like an evergreen thing. And then I do want to do some live workshops. And so I'll probably do a few here in Adelaide, and I'm hoping to do some on the Gold Coast, and then I'll probably do some in Melbourne. And I'm just about to start a 10-day challenge called New Habits, New Life. So what I'm going to do is, you know, have people, I'm going to send out an email or post it and promote it in the next couple of days. So it'll be 10 days. And what it is, it's taking all those things in the book, and it's saying, the mindset and the law of attraction is part of it. But like, as you said, the more you can eat healthy, the more you fit, you know, all of that stuff, that just helps you just even be more of a channel. And so, I mean, it doesn't mean that you can't, because I mean, I'm still trying to lose the weight that I, you know, gained about 20 years ago. So I'm still attracting stuff, even though I'm overweight. But the more you know, kind of align with it, the more you're able to, you know, bring more stuff. So, you know, the Find Your Path is one thing, but then also I say to people, keep looking back at the website, because there will be programs that I'll keep putting up, especially in 2016. And I've got a podcast on iTunes called Your Abundant Life.
So we can find your website. I'll put it in the chat box here.
Yeah.
It's www.Linda Chaousis.
.com.
CHAOUSIS.
.com.
LindaChaousis.com. So there's the website. Oh, it doesn't turn into a link. Oh, because I did it wrong. Anyway, put LindaChaousis.com into the web. What do you call that? Into a URL, and then you guys can go and check out Linda.
Yeah,
and all of your courses are on there. Sorry.
Yeah, and Scotty, I also do one-on-one coaching if people want to do that. But I find that I do think there's a lot of synergy around groups. Mm-hmm. So there'll be more, group stuff. Locally, I run Law of Attraction mini masterminds. I meet in cafes, charge $20, and again, it's to raise the energy. So when I go into state, I may just put the word out, and if there's enough people that want to come to a coffee shop, I'll have a cafe meeting, and people always leave really, again, with their energy raised.
Beautiful. I love that. But otherwise, on your website, you have the different courses that you offer. Yeah, you're saying?
Yeah. I've got the I've got the Find Your Path, and then the Dream to Reality. I'm just about to turn that into like an evergreen one where people can join that. And then there will be more. I've announced that the New Habits, New Life will be coming up. So I'm sort of in that transition of really getting some new things on the path. So if people look at what is there, and if they think, yeah, that's pretty good, but I'd like to look back, they can check back. And then also on there, people can buy my book if they want to. So beautiful. That's there as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would recommend this book. As I said, I'm still working through it, but even just based on the chapters and me skimming through and reading the bits that I did, you're a very good writer. I'm sure you've done this before.
Oh, well, thanks. Well, and Scotty, it's the first book I've dictated, but so that was interesting.
No, it's really excellent. And thank you so much. The wisdom that you've got in here, the wisdom that you've got in you is what the world needs right now. And more than just listening to it, we need to be applying it. So things like your programs, your courses. Thanks, Michael. Michael typed in the clickable link. Yeah, sorry, mate. I got that bloody colon wrong. So, yeah, the link is on there for your website. And take action. That's the biggest thing in this life. We got to do something. We can't just bloody sit on the sidelines and be the, what is it, the supporter, the cheerleaders on the side. Go, enjoy life. Get in there. Yeah. Bloody live it. And these things that you're teaching is exactly what we need. Sorry.
Yeah, well, and Scotty, take action. And if you're going down a certain path and it doesn't seem the right one, then just take another path. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, life is not on train tracks, right? We get to steer.
Yeah, that's right. You're on a beach, so you can go anywhere you want. Life is like a beach.
Especially when you live on one. I'm going to go and have a look. Yeah. It's so great to have you on here, Linda. Thank you so much for making the time. And thank you to everyone that's tuned in live. Totally appreciate you guys. Thank you for coming on. And the recording will be out there, so anyone wishes to enjoy. But otherwise, Linda, any final words?
No, I would just say start with whatever resonates with you. So if you're really new to this stuff, just start doing the gratitude stuff, and put the emotion into it, and just see what happens. And slowly, don't feel like you got to eat the whole elephant. Just start, because you'll think things will start to happen, and then one thing will lead to another. So I just wish everybody the best, and certainly my email is linda@lindachousis.com, and I'm more than happy to email back and forth with anybody who's just got a question or something, because I know sometimes when you start you think, oh, am I doing it right? And there's no such thing as doing it right, but sometimes it helps to be encouraged. So I wish everybody the best, and I really hope you have a great, abundant life, and you do start experiencing that life by design.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. I think it's so great that we're so aligned. I just love meeting people that we're so aligned with.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're an inspiration to me as well. The way that you've been able to get your message out there in a book. I've got a book coming soon. I want to be started next year, which I'm really excited about. It's in the works. In this works now. I've got to make it in this works. So your inspiration in that. Thank you. And yeah, you're manifesting, which is great. You're consciously manifesting life, and hats off to that. So much respect. Keep bringing the wisdom to the world, please. We need it right now. The world needs to hit on as many people as possible. All right, thank you. And thank you very much, guys.
Bye. Thanks, Scotty.
Thank you, darling. Thank you for tuning in. And next week, I'll have another very special guest. I don't know who that is yet. We will work it out, and it will be fun and exciting and enjoyable. So tell your friends, bring a snack, looking at, you're in your living room, so you can do whatever you want. You could be watching this naked. You're not naked, are you? All right, you're not naked. That's good. But if you are, that's fine, because you're in your living room, and I don't mind. You can look at what you be what you want to be, do what you want to do. Yeah. And I'll see you guys next week. Thanks, Linda.
Okay, bye, Scotty. Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Bye, guys. See you next week.